What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room yet again. And guess what, man? It's always another one. So listen, look, man, serious on some serious tip day here, though. I have something here that's, it kind of blew my mind at first when I first saw it. So I dove off into it just a few minutes to see what it was actually talking about. This is coming from the Black Wealth Channel. So he's breaking down the dynamics of the movie Boys in the Hood from an investment standpoint of how Furious Styles and a lot of other, how Furious Styles was actually, you know, breaking things down from an investment standpoint of how black people could actually make money in the hood.
So what the French toast is going to think about?
Listen, look, man. Hey, it shocked me when I really first started, getting into it just a few minutes. I had to stop and rewind that shit, you know what I'm saying? So we could actually get into it, man. Y'all got to listen to this, man. I'm telling you right now, this is crazy out here, but it's so much truth. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
People call me the neighborhood investor, not because I wear suits or quote Warren Buffett, because I see opportunity where everybody else just sees the hood. See, most folks watch Boys in the Hood and walk away thinking it's just about gang violence, tragedy, and a message about staying out of trouble. Nah, Boys in the Hood is a business manual, a wealth blueprint wrapped in a South Central accent, a movie that told you exactly how to make it out and build something while you're still in it. But nobody noticed. Let me break it down. That one scene where Furious Styles stands on the corner talking to the neighborhood about gentrification. That's not just fatherly wisdom. That's real estate 101. That's black economics. That's buy the block before the block gets bought and flipped on you. That's the same play rich folks been running in every city since forever. He said, they want us to kill ourselves. The best way to destroy a people is to take away their ability to reproduce themselves. Translation, if you don't own the land, someone else will. And when they do, they set the price.
And these are facts right here. You know what I'm saying? And I got to this point and I had to stop and get back on it. But that's basically what the deal is. The gentrification, everything, definitely when black folks are talking about in the hood and stuff like that, yeah, man, you gotta buy the hood. Buy your own stuff, buy your own land, things like that before somebody else buy it, and then they jack the price up on it. It makes perfect fucking sense, though.
Not just of the homes, but of your life. But here's the thing. Furious wasn't just a dad. He was the hood's first investment coach. He told Trey how to move, how to think, how to stay out of the trap. And he wasn't preachy. He was surgical, strategic. He saw the system, and he gave his son the tools to beat it. You watching a tragedy? I'm watching a playbook. Lesson number 1, own your block before they take it from you. Because if you don't control your environment, someone else will. And they'll charge you rent to breathe on your own soil. This ain't just nostalgia, it's knowledge. And over.
Ooh, did you hear that out there? Stop it.
So what the French toast is going to think about?
Control your environment or somebody else will. And that's definitely what's been going on in the black community for the longest. We have not been controlling our environment and things like that. We have not been buying our own communities and stuff like that because whoever this guy is, like what he was saying at first, basically we look at the hood as nothing to invest in. But for those that have the capital to invest, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Buy the hood, cheap price, you know what I'm saying? Rearrange it yourself.
For the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how Boys in the Hood quietly drop more game than half the business books on your shelf. Let's talk about it. Let's go back to that scene. Furious Styles stands on the corner with Trey and Ricky, pointing to the liquor store, the gun shop, and the for sale sign behind him. He wasn't just venting. He was giving a TED Talk before TED Talks existed. That was gentrification 101. Urban chess moves. While everybody else was playing checkers with Beef and Jordans, Furious was laying out the board. They want us to kill ourselves. That's why there's a liquor store on every corner. That's why they flood the hood with guns, not books. But then he drops the real bomb, ownership. He says, it's about property. It's about control. That's the game. See, real estate ain't just about buildings. It's about power. Land is leverage. And in most hoods, people don't own anything. They rent, they lease. And when the rent goes up, they get pushed out, erased. Their stores replaced by brunch spots and yoga studios. You can't pass on an apartment, but you can pass on a deed. That's why Furious was mad. Not just about the system, but about us not knowing how to play it. And he was trying to teach his son, own where you live. Don't just survive in the hood, stake a claim in it.
And that makes perfect sense. Real talk. If you understand anything, I recently got an investment in things like that, a little while back here. And of course, I don't know every damn thing. I'm still learning my damn self, and I'm definitely excited about it. But it makes perfect sense to me, just being a logical thinking man, to actually understand how he's breaking this movie down to see the actual investment side of it and what actually, was going on that, we never really looked at. Like, I've watched Boyz in the Hood countless numbers of times, I'm just saying, and I never thought about it this way.
Build equity, not just memories. Fast forward to Nipsey Hussle. Same neighborhood, same message. He didn't just rap about Crenshaw. He bought the lot, opened businesses, created jobs. That's the vision Furious was planting decades earlier. Nipsey just put it in motion. That's the model. Buy the block, develop it, and make sure the money stays in the community, not just for the flex, but for the future. You see,
now my quote, my thing on Nipsey, though, he didn't have enough proper protection. I think Nipsey should have developed the hood, but at that point, due to the fact the way that the mindset was with the people there, I think he should have, kind of stayed away a little bit. And I hate to say that. I hate to think that, you invest in something that you can't barely go around. But in those predicaments, when you're trying to gentrify a neighborhood and things like that, if you're the top dog and you're doing the primary investing, you got to kind of stay away. You got to kind of, protect yourself and things like that. I think that's what really happened with Nipsey. And yeah, he should have protected himself a lot more, being that he was investing in the hood like that, and knowing that, in those scenarios, a lot of those people don't understand what you're doing, don't really care. And until you actually maneuver the hood to a certain degree to where you could get out the trash minded people and try to keep the black people that are, like-minded thinkers somewhat, or that want to do better and have better opportunities. Yeah, at that point, you got to kind of maneuver a certain way and don't get caught up.
Pattern now is not just about looking rich. It's about being rich, not in chains, but in property, in land, in legacy. Because wealth, real wealth, is quiet. It doesn't scream with diamonds. It moves with deeds, LLCs, and trust funds. Furious Styles was the blueprint. You just weren't listening. Lesson number 2. Discipline gets you out the hood, not just dreams. Everybody in Boyz in the Hood had dreams. Ricky had NFL dreams.
Yep.
Doughboy had survival dreams.
Basically.
But Trey,
stop buying courses. But first things first.
It is what it is, man. Jesus Christ. Come on with these commercials.
And that made all the difference. Why? One word: Furious. Furious Styles wasn't just a dad. He was a full-time life coach with a fade. While the streets raised most of these boys, Trey had a man in the house telling him, wake up early, finish your homework, take responsibility, don't follow the crowd. Discipline.
So we at this point right here now. So fathers don't mean anything to young boys in today's society. Is that what we're saying? Because at the end of the day, though, this man making perfect sense about what Furious did for his son. If you watch the movie, and I'm pretty sure anybody in the sound of my voice, definitely if you of the African American community or any other community, like, I'm not trying to just dim it down to one community. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen Boyz in the Hood, and we know how it went down. And yes, Furious was on Trey about not dealing with those knuckleheads out there in the street. He was on him bad about that, and you know what I'm saying. He protected his son as much as he could, and he. It just is what it is. Let's keep going.
It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't loud.
That's what fathers in the home do.
Furious didn't just teach Trey how to shoot a gun. He taught him when not to.
Right.
He didn't just talk about manhood. He modeled it. That's why Trey walked away from that car the night Ricky got killed. That's why Trey made it out. And in business, that's the cheat code. Everybody wants to be a boss, but most
I know a lot of people would look at Trey like, oh man, you ain't down, you know. Trey wasn't down, he wasn't this and that. No, man, at the end of the day, though, his father had built him different. And see, this is the point right here to where, you know, we're talking about the single mother households versus the households that have fathers in them that actually give a fuck about their children. A father in the household gonna end up like Trey. You know what I'm saying? He did make it out. And you know what I'm saying? This is the whole point. But yeah, though, seriously, let's keep going. It's man, all right. I'm down to see what's here. Let's keep going. What's going on here?
people don't want a coach. They think freedom means doing whatever you want. But real freedom is earned through structure, through reps, through consistency. Furious was Trey's accountability partner before accountability partner was even a term. He checked it, he corrected him, and he loved him enough to say no. That's mentorship. In the business world, it's the same rule. You need someone wiser, sharper, less emotional, who's been where you're trying to go. A guide, a standard, a mirror. Because most people fail not from lack of talent, but from lack of structure. They take advice from friends who haven't built anything. They start companies with people who don't even read. They chase fast money because they never learn how to delay gratification. Trey's journey shows that discipline beats potential, and emotional control, that's a real flex. You want to win in business? Find your own Furies. Not someone who tells you what you want to hear, but someone who will tell you the truth. Loud, raw, clear. Because the streets will lie to you. The internet will gas you up. But a real mentor, he'll save your life. Lesson number 3. You can't.
Now, before we keep moving, with that point right there, you know what I'm saying? And yes, I'm gonna have to stop it. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. At that point right there, listen, look, in the movie, Furious had his own business. If we really recap on the movie, you know what I'm saying? Furious had his own business. He wasn't working at the plant, he wasn't working at no gas station. Furious had his own business. I think it was like a travel company or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But he had his own business. Furious worked for himself to provide whatever service it was for the people. But he had it in the hood at that particular time. If we go with the scenario of the movie, Furious had his business in the hood. So, you know, wow. Hey, Furious had his own business already. So he was business minded as a father at the same time too. And as a man living in the hood at that particular time, or what the scenario of the movie is trying to portray.
Build an empire if you act on impulse. Doughboy was the realist in the room. He had heart, he had loyalty, and he damn sure had pain. But what he didn't have was a plan. Every move he made came straight from emotion.
Right.
Rage, pride, revenge. And when you run your life on emotion, you crash it. Doughboy didn't think steps ahead. He thought seconds ahead. His brother Ricky got gunned down, and within hours, Doughboy's already out the door, gun loaded, consequences ignored. That's not strategy, that's reaction. And in business, that kind of thinking is a death sentence. See, you can have passion. You should have passion. But if your passion isn't partnered with patience, you'll burn your business down just to feel something. That's what Doughboy did. He wasn't playing chess. He was flipping the board every time he got angry. Let's be real. The streets are full of doughboys. So are boardrooms. Entrepreneurs who launch out of ego. CEOs who spend the company card to impress strangers. Creators who quit after one bad comment. All emotion, no game plan. The truth, you gotta be cold-blooded about your future. That means you don't post just because you're mad. You don't spend just because you feel rich. You don't hire people just because they're your cousin. You slow down, you study the field, you play 5 moves ahead. Doughboy had the drive, but not the discipline. The pain, but not the patience. That's why he ended up watching his life unravel like a movie he couldn't pause. And at the end, he knew it. Remember that last scene? Doughboy on the porch, shirt off, eyes heavy, saying they either don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood. Translation: is hard to build when your whole life's been about survival. But that's why this lesson matters. You got to become the kind of person who doesn't let the world bait you into destruction, who can feel everything but still think straight, who doesn't just react but responds with intention. That's how you build something that lasts. Be emotional, but be strategic. Think like a king, not a corner boy. Lesson number 4. Not everything deserves your energy. One of the coldest scenes in Boyz n the Hood is also one of the quietest. Trey's in the back of that car, gun in hand, heart on fire, ready to ride for Ricky. But halfway through the drive, he says 4 words that change his life. Let me out, man. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Trey chose his future over his feelings. He chose life over loyalty to pain.
And that's what his father provided him.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
If you've seen the movie, when Trey, at the beginning of the movie, Trey got into a fight, you know what I'm saying, at his school. He was living with his mama then. And you know what I'm saying, mom was like, listen, look, woo the woo, you finna go live with your dad now, this and that. That was the best decision that woman made for Trey. That was the best decision.
French toast is there to think about?
That was the best decision that woman made for Trey. Now, you know what I'm saying? You saw Trey grow up through the movie and stuff like that. If you see the movie, we know what we're talking about here, okay? You know what I'm saying? We saw Trey grow up with his father. Trey grew up, all that type of stuff. Of course, mom was like, you know what I'm saying? She was, after a certain while, she would start feeling some type of way because Trey was busy all the time. He wasn't calling her. But anyway, the thing of this is the fact that she did the right thing. After a certain period of time, she gave her son to his father. She knew better. She wasn't trying to be bitter. She wasn't trying to be hurt. She wasn't trying to stop her son from being with his father. She knew that at the end of the day, after this point right here, you need to go be with your dad. You know, and he put the structure in Trey in order to be able to discipline himself to get out of that car that night in order to motherfucking know that he had a future here because of the knowledge that his father had instilled upon him. This is real talk. You know what I'm saying? Not just money investment. This is investment for life. Definitely when you have a father with a good head on his shoulders and that's trying to actually lead his son or daughter, whatever, period, to a definitely decent, peaceful, prosperous place on this planet.
And in that one moment, he made the kind of decision that most people never make. He walked away from chaos. Now zoom out. Same lesson applies in business. Not every opportunity is worth the drama. Not every partnership is worth the stress. And not every fight is your fight. Right. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is leave the car. That could be stepping out of a toxic business deal that's draining you, or saying no to the friend who wants to start something but has no plan, no money, and all the red flags, or quitting the job that's killing your spirit so you can build something on your own terms. It's not about giving up. It's about preserving your power, because here's the real truth. The hood doesn't just kill you with bullets. It kills you with distractions, with beefs that ain't yours, with chaos that pulls you in just to spit you out. Same thing in life. And business? Business rewards clarity. It rewards people who protect their energy, stay focused, and don't chase every battle.
Man, this is making so much sense. If you ever seen Boyz n the Hood, you could definitely relate to what this man is saying and how you break it down.
You're real. You need to prove you're strategic. And Trey showed us that. By stepping out, he didn't just save his life, he saved his legacy. Everybody wants the bag, but few want the discipline that keeps it. Because it takes maturity to say, this path looks loud, but that one leads to peace. Peace is a profit too. Don't forget that. Sometimes walking away is the flex, and surviving the storm is the win. Lesson number 5. Talent without a plan is just potential. Ricky was the golden ticket. Fast feet, college offer, SAT score in hand. He had the talent, he had the dream, he even had the moment. But what he didn't have was a system. No strategy, no security, no structure. He walked through a war zone with headphones on. No backup, no awareness, no protection. And that's how a future worth millions got erased in seconds. Now,
ooh, did you hear that though? But think about it though. Think about the difference between how Ricky and Doughboy was raised versus, you know what I'm saying, how Trey was raised. And that does make the difference of what this gentleman here is breaking down to as well, about the discipline that's needed in order to be able to think clearly enough to even properly invest in a situation like that.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
And it goes back to what he said about at the beginning here about investing in the hood, making sure if you there, you know what I'm saying, these cats, you know, so definitely in the 80s, all the type of stuff, but whatever, you know, so they making all this money off of doing, some are making money off doing illegals, not all, but I mean, we just gonna be honest here, you know what I'm saying? And you know, yeah, buy the hood, man, buy your community, buy the buildings in your hood, regentrify them, turn them into coffee shops, turn them into other little things, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just makes perfect sense.
Let's flip that to real life and business. You could have the best idea, the rawest talent, a fire product. But if your circle is messy, your paperwork ain't filed, and you're just winging it day by day,
Right.
You're Ricky walking through that alley. Too many people build on vibes, then wonder why it all crumbles. Business is war. You need structure. You need insurance. You need contracts. You need a plan. Because dreams are fragile. And this world, it doesn't care how fast you run. It cares how prepared you are when the storm hits. Ricky didn't die because he was weak. He died because he was unguarded. And a lot of us are doing the same thing metaphorically, running towards success with no strategy, hoping raw talent saves us. It won't. Build smart, tighten your circle, secure your assets. Learn the boring stuff, because the boring stuff is what keeps you alive in the game. Dreams are expensive, and purpose costs discipline. So ask yourself, are you building a fantasy or a foundation? Because the hood cheered for Ricky, but cheering never saved him. What saves you is structure. Don't just dream big, build smart.
Yo, shout out to that,
So
man.
what the
Listen,
French
look.
toast is there to think about?
Listen, look, man. Hey, I hope y'all got something from this situation right here. This really popped across my feed here on YouTube, man. And I, you know, like I say, I dove off into it just a few minutes just to find out what this brother was talking about, you know, dealing with how, you know, Boyz in the Hood actually taught people how to get rich, but nobody was paying attention. And he made perfect sense throughout this video right here. Shout out to whoever this brother is. Like I say, this is what's this? Black Wealth Channel. Man, this is crazy though. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be doing a few more I'm gonna find some other stuff from his channel to do too as well. This makes perfect sense about the scenario with Doughboy, Ricky, Trey, and Furious Styles and things like that, and how, you know, a father in a home can actually provide a certain level of mental structure and discipline for a son, the way he can learn how to discipline himself, grow, and go further, and things like that, and how to avoid the pitfalls in society and things like that. Man, wow. Versus, you know, Ricky and Doughboy didn't have that structure, and they fell into the pitfalls even with all that talent. And he didn't say that, you know, even Doughboy had talent, but he didn't know how to discipline himself in order to manifest it. Just like Ricky had talent, but he didn't have the backup and the discipline as well in order to make sure that he manifested. Man, this is crazy though, man. I thought this was a good one right here. Shout out to this content creator, whoever he is, man. And real talk, if you got any comments, get down there, let me know. For real though, I love the feedback, what you think about this video right here. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.